Today on the Diz List, we talk about our favorite entertainment at Walt Disney World.
Welcome to the Diz List, a podcast that lists everything in Walt Disney World. I'm Nick.
And I'm Rob, and today we're doing a little bit different, but I like different. We're not doing a ranking, we're just doing our favorite things in Disney entertainment.
Yes.
Now, we'll get to what we mean specifically within the show, but it's probably what most people would expect.
I mean,
it's going to be a good discussion.
Yeah, and I kind of like this. So, full disclosure, Rob and I, when it comes to creative ideas, there's only so many ideas you can come up with yourself, which is why we always, as a call to action, say to our patrons, say to our followers, let us know what you want to hear.
Which we do very often.
Yes, and we often
always
do
take
those.
suggestions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, my buddy Vinny last week suggested that show. Worked out great.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, but that's okay. It was a great show, and we had a good time doing it. So we actually turned to ChatGPT and said, hey, what are some good ideas for, like, give us lists of lists. And we got some great stuff. And
there was good and bad.
Yeah. And this is one that after, like, when we started talking about it, like, we can't do a list of each of these, but we can do a top and talk about our favorites. Initially, we were going to do, this show was our favorites list, the favorite of this, the favorite of this, because this will be released as our 3rd year birthday of the podcast,
and,
which is pretty cool.
When we were together the other day, Nick had his annual 4th of July party.
Yeah.
And I misspoke. This was before having some refreshments. I mistakenly called it the 300 episode. I was like, well, we're not there yet.
No, we're halfway
we
there.
could be, but we're about halfway there.
So,
I called it the 300 years.
Yes, we're at episode 157. If you do 52 a year, that means the last one was the 156th. So it was the last one of before our 3rd year. It's amazing to think that this podcast has been going for 3 years.
And we still have stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
Well, we talk about the same things a lot over and over again, too, because it's
so much.
It changes. It's what we like. It's what our listeners like to talk about and think about. And I told you before the show, like, I'm getting ready for my trip. I know you're getting ready for your trip.
Yeah.
And part of that includes watching YouTube videos every day from our favorite creators, and I'm refreshing everything I need to know about Lightning Lane. I know Lightning Lane is different. Yeah. And I said on the last episode that I was one of the group of the first people to experience Lightning Lane Multipass because it was introduced about this time. It was the end of July last year.
Yeah.
And then we went the beginning of August. We're going to go the beginning of August this year. But again, I haven't done it in a year, so I have to go back in and refresh. Shout out to our friends at Ear Scouts, Eric and Rob, who make great videos. If you're looking to go soon and you need to figure out how to use Lightning Lane, not really something we go over specifically because we're more of an audio format. But one of the great things about these videos, and we're not sponsored by them, they're just friends of ours. Yeah. I love the fact that he visually demonstrates these things. And I said to him once when we got together, I said, you should be a teacher, Rob. And he appreciated that comment because he's very good at teaching everybody how to do it and then showing a visual. And that's important for not only kids in school, but adults. And I'm a learner like that. I have to see it and hear it, and then it locks into my head.
Yeah.
Same thing with math. You don't just get up in front of the class and just orate all your problems. You have to visually show how to do the problems.
I do, yeah, absolutely.
That's very important.
And, you know, he's not at all the only creator. He's the best creator at the Lightning Lane stuff.
Absolutely.
Though, bar none.
Yes.
Speaking of creators and different things on YouTube, there was a video that you actually just showed me that I had saw, but I was like, I'm not watching it. That seems clickbaity. That the new test track had a car actually, like, run into the doors.
Right. So at the end of Test Track, it's the same ride. So if you've been on Test Track before, at the end of the ride, you start to speed up, the doors open, and then you're outside.
This part's not a spoiler.
No, not at all. It's the same as the previous ride. There's other things that are different, which I won't talk about, but after watching this video, and the gentleman reporting says that this happens relatively frequently, and they said twice in the video that the doors are made of foam.
I want to go through the door.
You want to hit that
I want to
door?
hit it full speed and watch the foam explode.
Bang.
Yeah. It would kind of be like a real life version of Runaway Railway where the wall explodes. I just want it to be breakaway foam that goes flying everywhere. I think that's it.
I love
Hey,
it.
Disney, if you're listening, Test Track 4.0, that's what you got to do. Let me break through that wall. When one of my brothers used to sell cars for, I can't remember if this was Subaru or when he was with Kia. Either way, he got to do like these test rides, and they were like these obstacles in the road. And the guy he was riding with was like, put your foot on the gas and don't hit the brake. And the obstacles in the road were like airbags. So they were breakaway. Like you couldn't, even if you did run into them, you couldn't get hurt. My brother was like, there's something so weird about putting your foot
on the gas
when
you know you're
when
going to hit something.
When you're going at something that's very realistic looking.
Wow.
He's like, I'm going at a car and I have my foot on the pedal and my foot's fully on the gas and we're going like 80 miles an hour in this open track, and all of a sudden my car stops. He's like, the brakes engage and it stops me just in time. I was like, that is crazy. He's like, so I want to have the experience, just break through the darn wall.
That reminds me, I mean, it's related, not related. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I will say, this is not a spoiler, but hitting that wall, considering the changes to the ride, is quite ironic. It's quite ironic. That's all I'll say.
Yes.
So anyway.
Well, I sent you a message the other day of the lounge that's in Test Track, and the main purpose I sent you the video is like, holy cow, look at this beautiful view. Yeah. So you're on kind of that second story above the track, and you have this incredible panoramic view of fireworks and World Showcase. And I don't know if you can talk about this or not, but you had told me something about a family member.
Yeah, my sister-in-law's father used to work at a GM plant. Mm-hmm. And when you went there as a GM employee, you got free access to this lounge.
That's cool.
And you got basically like, oh, you want to go ride Test Track? Go downstairs and get on the ride.
As many times as you want.
Yeah, on loop if you wanted to.
That's cool.
So it's cool. A corporate lounge. So she's been up there. I believe my brother was with her when they went up one time.
Cool.
So because my comment back to you was like, hey, fun fact.
I have two more things on my list. One of which was the top of the list, and we jumped right over this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nick, happy birthday.
Oh, well, thank you.
Today is Nick's birthday.
Yeah.
So shout out to Nick.
I'm 2 days.
I don't have the cheering or anything. No. That's for the Patreon.
Okay.
I have all the fun sounds. But
okay.
You're probably glad.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't need
the cheering.
Just another day. I woke up to a text message from my brother saying, was it a little harder to get out of bed today? And I'm the oldest, so I wrote back to him, it's hard every day. He's like, you're right, it is. So when you hit 40 and you're above 40, you know what I'm saying. Everything hurts a little bit more.
I watched this great movie last night. It's not Disney related, but it's one of those movies I pass over. I'm like, I don't know if I really want to see it. It's called Wolves. Not Wolves, Wolves. It's with George Clooney and Brad Pitt.
Okay.
It's an Apple, made by Apple Plus.
Okay.
And I won't give away what they are, but they're kind of good guys, kind of bad guys, but the whole movie is jokes on their age. Like Brad Pitt crouches down and they definitely overdubbed a big crack sound in his knees. At one point they're trying to read this pager that they get, and they hand it back and forth and they look at each other, and then they take out their readers and they have to read what it says on the pager with their readers. It was a good movie that made fun of aging, which is, we're starting to go through that now.
Right. Like when you meet up with a student and you see a student, you're like, oh, how are you doing? Oh, really, really well. My kid's in second grade. And you're like, what? Your kid's in second grade? How the hell old am I?
Have you had any kids students?
No. Had I stayed where I started my career, I definitely would have.
Because I've had, 20 or 30. Right. A lot.
Yeah. So I've only been at our school 17 years. Mm-hmm. This was the end of my 17th. So it's getting close to it, but it's not yet. This is my 23rd year teaching, so I would have had some at my other school.
I have one last news bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is a rumor. This is not
Oh,
official.
This is
This is just a rumor we saw online.
Yep.
And this rumor has been out before, and I'll get to it and then we can discuss it here. It's Disney and Lucasfilm are talking about rebooting Indiana Jones. Now, Harrison Ford has said that he is the only Indiana Jones and was very clear about that they're not going to recast and he is Indiana Jones. Which, have you ever read any of that or seen any of that in the interviews? He's a grumpy guy. I love him. He's probably one of, if not my favorite actor of all time. He's played two of my favorite characters ever. Listeners probably know exactly which two I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Not the guy from Witness, not the guy from Air Force One. But the show Shrinking is really good that he's in. He plays basically himself, a grumpy old man. It's great.
Yes.
But I'm wondering if you think this is a good idea or a bad idea. And if you liked my idea, the reboot, and if you liked my idea I said earlier for who to cast for Harrison Ford, or if you have another idea.
Why don't you tell them who you think should be cast as Harrison?
Well,
as Indiana.
This person has been mentioned before. He has played Star-Lord, and he has played Andy Dwyer on Parks and Rec. And again, I am forgetting the guy's name. Help me out.
Pratt.
Chris Pratt, thank you. It popped out of my head for a second there. Usually I'm pretty good at recall. I missed that one. But I think Chris Pratt would do a great job in that role. Is there anybody you could see, or listeners, after hearing our... I'll give him a minute to think about it.
Here's my thing. I think that Chris Pratt would be good because one of the great things about Harrison Ford
is he's flawed.
And he can make those weird, like he will kind of have those quick comments, those quick quips.
Mm-hmm.
Both as Han and as Indy.
Yes.
That just like hit different, right? And I think that Chris Pratt has that kind of comedy.
He does.
But he a lot of time does it as a he's ad-libbing.
Yes.
And so some of his ad-libs are very hilarious.
Yeah.
Here's my thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they could still pull it off and not go back on Harrison Ford's word.
Mm-hmm.
So hear me out. Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford. Chris Pratt, Kentucky Jones.
Oh,
Ohio
okay.
Jones.
Sure.
Montana Jones.
Well, Indiana's the dog's name.
Come on now.
We named the dog Indiana.
Yeah. So I do think it's possible. He could be a son. He could be a kid who worked for him. It could be something, right?
Well, they were alluding to it when they did Young Indiana Jones too. It could be recast, or they have Indiana Jones's son, which was played by Shia LaBeouf. How do I remember his name? And I can't remember Chris Pratt's name.
I don't know.
Because he was popular around that time for Transformers.
Yeah.
But maybe there's another son he doesn't know about.
I mean,
Indy's been all over the world.
It's entirely possible with Indy.
That's probably a good spot for halftime.
Yeah, I'm thinking we're going to head off to the halftime show, which is brought to you by our patrons. Thank you so much. I will say this. As Rob was leaving the 4th of July party at my house this past weekend, he goes to leave, and I look at my phone, and there's a notification for a new patron. And I just shouted up, "Hey, new patron." And he's like, "What?"
That's awesome.
And so
it's perfect timing.
What I want to say is,
whoever
thank
that
you
was,
guys so much.
Thank you. The best
Joe.
timing.
It was Joe.
Good. Thank you to Joe.
So Joe S., thank you so much. I'm really excited whenever we get a new patron. Rob's really excited, so it's awesome to see that. And we want to hear from you, right? Write us messages. But this halftime's brought to you by our patrons over at patreon.com/DizListPod. We'll see you after the break. Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about our favorite entertainment inside of the parks. Rob said he's got some weird stuff. He didn't tell me what. He just said we're not going to match up. And I'm like, how do we not match up on this?
No, I don't think we will.
So basically what we're talking about is like live stage shows, nighttime spectaculars. Even one of the things is like background music. I want to say, first of all, that Disney does excel at this. They had kind of dropped. They kind of dropped. I think that they got complacent. Over COVID, they did away with some of the stuff, some of the live performances, and they're starting to ramp that back up. You see it in Epcot with that latest, was it Misinformation, which I think is hilarious, and then there's a guy that's with her. I can't remember. And they're seeing it a little bit more frequently in Star Wars. I saw a video even in Disney Springs, like for July 4th, they had Douglas fir walking around for Christmas in July. Not walking around because it's like a robot. It's I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's like a planter box with a artificial Christmas tree going around and it talks to people. So there's somebody controlling it nearby, and they're voicing it.
Well, they brought back Little Mermaid.
Right. I'm talking about like walk around, just like fun. So parks in general have, I mean, you think about things like the Tam Tam drummers. You think about over in Japan. You think about the juggler over in France. I don't think they still do that one, but like these are things that Disney does so well.
The Jameters.
Oh, the Jameters are great. I love hearing the Jameters.
Yeah.
They do a really good job, and so it's gonna be. It was hard for me to separate those kinds of performances to like what we have here, which are very different, right? In my opinion.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to give a shout out kind of to Disney as like, hey, they are good at entertainment. It's not just the things we're going to talk about here.
Yep. They're important too.
So where do you want to start?
Well, I'm going to start with favorite live stage show, but I have a question because I have two answers depending on how you go here.
I mean, we can just talk about entertainment in general.
Is this a stage show that includes humans or animatronics?
It can be whatever you want.
Because if it's anything I want, my favorite stage show is the old and the new Country Bear Jamboree.
That's fine.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
And I like both versions of it quite a bit. I'm looking forward to seeing the new version again, but I was very much surprised because before we got to see the show, I got to see it with our friend Rob from Ear Scouts, and I had heard mixed reviews, and I wanted to be able, and I didn't see too many spoilers on this one either because it was special to me.
Right.
Like seeing Hatbox Ghost, I'm a big Haunted Mansion guy. I've already seen Hatbox Ghost on the West Coast, so it wasn't like I could see the video of Hatbox, and it's slightly different. Like there's little nuances that are different to me, but seeing Country Bears, I had it as kind of a big surprise, and it was very funny. I don't love every song, but I didn't necessarily love every song in the previous version, but I love it so much, and it's such. Is it the best show that they have in Disney? No, because my close second is definitely The Lion King, and that's there's a little animatronic or maybe there are puppets at the end of it, but my favorite show that nostalgically for me is the Country Bear Jamboree.
And here's the thing: these were not one of the top ones. These are like our favorites. And like
correct. And I'm not saying
the format of our show has always been opinion based, right? These are not. It's not a fact, right? Nope. For me, I love that show. I have not seen the new one because it opened up literally like
right after you were
I was there the day they were doing previews.
All right,
so
you're
like,
walking around and
everybody,
Tim Tracker
everybody
and everybody was there. Yeah.
And so then they did the media previews, and then they did can't remember if they did the media previews, then they did cast members, or if they'd already done cast members. Because I remember speaking to Rob about it, and he was like, they must have done cast members first, because he said that Eric was not a fan,
right?
And he had not seen it, but Rob had not seen it. For me, I'm not thinking this will be a shock to anybody who's watched or listened to us before.
I could probably guess.
Yeah, my favorite live stage show is The Lion King.
And that's why I didn't want to say too much about it, because I was guessing that was yours also.
For many of the reasons that you love Country Bears, I love Lion King. You talked about nostalgia. For me, that movie is nostalgic. For me, that movie reminds me of my childhood, reminds me of my youngest brother just being glued to that and having to watch it on loop. And when you may have been annoyed as a kid having to watch this movie on loop to keep your baby brother from crying all the time or whatever. We didn't have iPads. We had VHSs.
Right.
But
which you could also use as a weapon if you need to with your little brother.
I mean, let's not. I could tell some stories, let me tell you. But
just don't break a window and you're okay.
Oh, I told you that story. I forgot.
Yes. Moving on.
If my brother Matt's listening, stay away from any wiffle ball bats is all I'll say. The Lion King stage show is just so well done. It is Broadway quality.
Absolutely.
it's theater in the round, so I kind of like that too.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit of Broadway, a little bit of Cirque du
I
Soleil.
was just gonna say that.
The performers have the most amazing voices. I really feel like they are speaking to you, right? They're speaking to everybody in there, and they're talking. If you listen to their message is great. It really is about like conservation in a way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's a beautiful stage show. When they had kind of made it abbreviated during COVID, I was like, oh, this kind of stinks. Are they ever going to bring it back? And I was certain it was going to be one of those cost-cutting things that happens at Disney. And when they announced, nope, now we're coming back to original, it was like, oh my gosh, they didn't just leave it. I love this show. I think that anybody who goes to Disney and sees it and says that wasn't good,
I don't know what they're talking about.
I don't know what they watched. So I would say that for me, live stage show would be Lion King. If we're going to talk about like animatronic stuff, because you gave a number 2, you said if we were going to go the other way, you would have went with this.
Yeah.
If I went, I would probably say my favorite would be Tiki Room.
Cool.
If I went with the other one, that's a show.
Also a great one.
So
I love how that one evolves. And
absolutely.
You're looking around the room and you don't notice something until it starts moving. You're like, holy cow, I didn't even notice that. Yeah. 2 quick comments about Lion King. One is, I've seen it so many times that you really get this wide range of different voices that you get to hear, and just different quality of voices. Sometimes you get like someone who has a voice that is similar to James Earl Jones, and sometimes it's a little bit more of a higher voice for that particular role. And the women's voices, a beautiful range.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
I've never walked out of there and been like, oh, that person was okay. I've always walked out, even though they're different, and thought that person was cast fantastically. Like, they do a great job.
And another cool thing of Disney being, it's not really being cheap, it's being creative, is that at the very end, when those animatronic, the floats come in, those used to be part of a parade. Right. And they took them and just recycled them in the best way. Why would we get rid of these things? It's kind of like when you're looking at the end, I don't even know if these are I don't think this is part of Tiana's at the end, but it was at the end of Splash Mountain where they had like the chickens from America Sings.
Yeah, they reused them.
Did they reuse them for Tiana's too? Are they still in there?
No, they're not. I'm saying they reused them. But and they actually, the animatronics on Tres Caballeros.
Yes.
Those are reused. Yeah. They're recycled from something. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was our live stage show. Now you want to do it at nighttime? Is that what you wanted to do?
Yeah, I have a weird one for this, but there's a very specific reason. My next one is going to be our favorite nighttime spectaculars. Okay. So favorite nighttime show. Mine is, and I had to look up the name of this because I didn't think this was the real name, but it is, and I looked it up multiple times. It's called Minnie's Wonderful Christmas Time Fireworks. And this was the very last year that they used actual lights on the castle. So we went right before COVID, and this was December of 2019, and they have the projections on the castle with all the animated fun Christmas things happening on the castle, and then it starts lit up, and then the lights turn off, and then those Christmas lights turn on at the end. Oh my gosh, it's absolutely incredible. It was really, really cool and really special to be able to see that.
I think nothing can compare to the real lights. I get the projections, and I totally understand them. Yeah. And I think that we're seeing a shift away from also fireworks shows. I think are going to start going away, and you're going to see more drones. And I totally understand that.
It's cool.
And, cost effective, and you can do more with them. So I don't have a problem with it. But they're just not the same, right? And it's nostalgic, right? Those lights, the fact that they can do that, the Griswold effect of having everything turn on. So I agree with you that must have been cool to see.
Yeah, it was exciting.
This is a hard one for me, right? So I'm gonna give my current favorite in the parks. I'm gonna also mention some honorable mentions that maybe either don't exist anymore or are things that aren't in the park. Okay,
I can probably guess.
Okay, we'll see if we can get there.
Sure.
So my first is I absolutely love Happily Ever After.
Yeah.
So
that would have been mine too, but
when I first saw the fireworks at Disney, I can remember exactly where I was, what was happening at the moment. And I'm not talking in the park. I was at Poly. We had arrived and we were waiting for our Amazon order. I was standing in Tambu Lounge. The 2019 All-Star Home Run Derby was happening. I am a huge Mets fan. Pete Alonso won that Home Run Derby while I was sitting in Tambu Lounge waiting on our Amazon driver while I was watching the fireworks across the way, across the lagoon. And I still remember that moment when they're playing Never Had a Friend Like Me, and the castle turns blue because they're pumping the music in. And the fireworks are going out, and that was when I realized I'm seeing this like up close because we had a dessert party, and I'm like, I'm gonna be there. This is gonna be amazing. And I fell in love with that show. Then they've done such a great job with the Main Street projections. I have to name it my number one.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
My honorable mention. Okay, so I've got two honorable mentions. One is Epcot Harmonious. When we saw that, was absolutely remarkably good.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
And people absolutely trashed it. And we watched it, and I was like, what
are they talking about?
Yeah,
this is fantastic.
The artistic quality of that, the colors, the way they did different things with the fountains.
It being multilingual was so cool.
It almost made the water tacos tolerable.
Yes.
And by the way, we didn't really get rid of the water tacos in the end. I mean, there's still kind of an obstruction out there.
Yeah, a little.
And then the other thing I would say is outside of the parks, something that still exists, something that I still enjoy, is the water pageant, the electrical water pageant. I think is amazing. It's just so nostalgic. It is so like that MIDI music playing, and it's just kind of cool. So those are mine. But my number one is definitely my favorite. Is definitely hands down Happily Ever After.
Well, your electrical water pageant perfectly leads me into our next category.
Yes.
Which is our favorite parades.
Yes.
And for me, it's the Main Street Electrical Parade is my favorite.
Yeah.
When I was young, this is how we ended the night. They didn't have a giant projection show. It wasn't really a thing in the 80s, but they had the electrical parade, which I loved, and that music just stayed with me. And luckily, one of our trips, we didn't go because of this, but we just got really lucky, and I had to go back and go through to see when we were there and when we saw it exactly. And I looked it up. We saw the Main Street Electrical Parade in March of 2016. It was still running at that point. Now, its main run went from 1977 to 1991. Then it went away for a while. They brought it back. And the rumor is this summer there's going to be elements of the Main Street Electrical Parade in the, oh my gosh, I was going to call it Spectral Magic, but that's not it.
Starlight something.
Yeah. Yes.
Disney Starlight. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
I almost said Star Child too. That's Paul Stanley
Paul
from
Stanley?
Kiss.
I was going to say. Even I know that one.
It's okay. Him and I are friends.
Okay. Meeting somebody once does not make you a friend.
That's true.
For me, this is tough because when you see a parade once, it's like, is that really my favorite? But I do have to say that at the party, the Halloween party that wasn't a party because we couldn't call it a party because it was COVID,
right?
And they couldn't call it a parade; they had to call it a cavalcade.
See, that would have been
so ridiculous.
Been up there for me.
So it's so ridiculous to call it anything but a parade because it was a parade. That was probably my favorite I've ever seen for a couple reasons. One, it's at night, so it's not blazing hot out. Two, the characters were just like they had Dr. Facilier and they had the villain, they had Cruella, they have all these villains coming down. You've got Oogie Boogie.
Did they have the Gravediggers with the sparky?
That's the only part that they did. Like they didn't have that. They didn't have.
I would love to see that.
They didn't have. So they were the Gravediggers, but they didn't have. They weren't swinging the shovels around. They didn't have the headless horse. Okay, headless horseman wasn't there.
Cool.
But they had amazingly done costumes, and they still did the cavalcade, whatever the heck it is. So I would say that's my favorite I've ever seen. My current favorite are impromptu things when you don't even know what's happening. So whether that's like at Animal Kingdom when a boat goes by and they said they were getting rid of them, but they didn't really get rid of them. Or like sometimes in Epcot, you'll be going through World Showcase and all of a sudden the princesses will come by. So I like those impromptu things, or like the Rainy Day Parade. I don't know if you've ever seen the Rainy Day Parade.
Yes, I have.
Those are fun too.
I've seen that a couple times.
So I like those that I can see still. But if I'm going to talk about one that I've seen that was my favorite parade ever, it has to be at that Halloween party. That wasn't called a party. It was only called a bash because you couldn't call it a party. I don't know why.
I have a similar one that's my kind of honorable mention too. And it's very similar to what you just said. They used to do this at Hollywood Studios, and they would have the stormtroopers march through. And I mean, they had like 30 stormtroopers in lines marching through with, again, I don't know what's wrong with my brain this morning. It's the Star Wars character that is the silver reflective
Captain
female,
Phasma.
Captain Phasma. So Captain Phasma, she leads all of the troopers through, and she has kind of a little like voice recorder where you can, not recorder, speaker, where she has different phrases,
Yep.
and they marched through, and my son was young at the time.
Yep.
He absolutely loved it because he was really into Star Wars. Well, he still is, so am I. But it was really incredible to see the stormtroopers march through the middle of Hollywood Studios. That was so cool. Not my favorite parade ever, but like definitely a cool thing to have seen, and I'm glad that I got to see it.
Somewhat impromptu, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So I think that's kind of cool.
Yep.
So yeah. Now this next one, when I saw this on the list, I was like, and then I started thinking, I was like, wow, this is actually that's a good question.
This is the only one I think we may overlap on.
Okay, so what
You
it
paused
is
when I said
I
that.
mean, maybe this is possible.
Yeah.
Is background music.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I want to say before we actually reveal what our favorites are is that you forget how well Disney immerses you in a land.
Yes.
Just through music.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a testament to people who love music, people who create music yourself.
Yes.
How powerful music can be, because it can completely transport you.
You set me up perfectly.
Go ahead.
Because part of this is that it's perfectly mixed, and it is not too loud. I have hearing problems. Surprise, surprise. I play in a hardcore band for 20, 30 years.
It'll happen.
So my hearing is not great. It's not too loud that I can't hear my family members or the people around me.
Right.
The speakers are perfectly hidden, and it's the way that they mix the sound, not only in the parks when you're walking around, but I just want to say in the rides, for example, like let's do a really obvious one, Small World.
Okay.
A Small World, like you're hearing it in one place, and then they do like a perfect fade, and the song like will come in, not in the same spot.
Yeah.
It changes.
It's a different language and everything.
Oh my gosh, the sound designers, the soundscape,
acoustical engineers.
Oh
yeah,
my gosh,
absolutely.
Incredible. So mine,
Mickey and Minnie's is a good one too.
and I figured you and I would match up on this. Maybe we will. And you can tell me right away if we do. But I think the park that does it so well is Epcot. When you walk into Epcot, it's like this. The way that they choose the sounds and the synthesizers when you're in the front part of the park, we'll call it Future World, which I know it's not really anymore, but it just has that element of like future sounds and synthesizers. It's anthemic and it's optimistic based on the notes that they choose. But then once you walk around World Showcase, you hear the native songs. Like in your Japan, you're hearing the native audio of Japan or France, and I just love that so much. And it really sets the tone. Like you're in Italy, for example. Like Italy it's great, but there isn't as much in Italy that is so like recognizable that hits you over the head, like China, for example. Like just the architecture and like all the different things, you know you're in China, but that music, when it hits you in Italy, when you hear that traditional like Italian style music that you would hear at a restaurant, boom, you're there.
There's no banjos playing in the American Pavilion.
There could be.
Yeah, or jazz.
I couldn't
even tell you what they play in the American Pavilion.
I couldn't tell you either.
I bet you they don't, because a lot of times there's a stage show going.
I think it's like snare drum and piccolo.
Oh, like
you know what I mean?
Like a marching band kind of thing?
Yep. I think that's what you hear when you go through, at least when you get closer to like the actual pavilion where you can go in
when you're going in
and see the American show.
Yeah. So I did not really consider that, only because each pavilion is different, and now that you said it, it does make sense.
So you're choosing Magic Kingdom?
No, mine was not in Magic Kingdom.
Really?
So listen, I thought not of a park, but a specific land that you get transported. And so for me, Pandora, when you enter Pandora and all the sounds.
Cool.
So I didn't think about music. I thought about sounds.
Okay.
I said Pandora. Now, if I'm picking music, solely based on music, and I'm going to pick a land, I'm picking Magic Kingdom Main Street.
Yes, that's a great choice, too.
Because the sounds there are so different.
Yeah.
You hear that because even the music plays off of the train whistle. And then as you get closer to the hub, you have the piano playing. You have Dapper Dan's potentially singing somewhere around the four of them, or four or five, whatever. But that, you hear these things happening around you, and the smells and everything like gets so. For me, I guess it's Main Street. If I'm going to go with like,
it's a great one.
Music.
Yep.
If I'm not going with music, I'm going with how the soundscape like changes your attitude.
Yeah.
I've got to go Pandora because as much as I think that land falls short for like attractions outside of Flight of Passage, because I really don't like Navi River Journey, especially how short it is. It does transport you with those sounds of the different creatures that are supposedly there, and you do hear like the shaman stuff in the background.
It's awesome.
I think Animal Kingdom in general does well because like you could even say like the drummers and the dancers and the music that's played there in Africa is also background music, even though it's live played and it could be considered a show. But I think I totally understand. I would probably, now that I think as a collective whole, how it transports you, I think that Epcot is probably the right choice. So I think your favorite is better than my favorite.
Well,
but
we looked at it in different ways.
Yeah,
so.
we did.
Yeah.
We did. So yeah, this was fun. And one thing I would say is when we're trying to think about favorites, right? We know that you're probably yelling at us at home saying that's not. What are you, crazy? That's not good.
Well,
like,
everybody has their own favorites.
But my point is, we want to know your favorites. Let us know in the comments, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Instagram, whether it's just shooting us a DM. Maybe it's over on patreon.com getting involved in the discussion. That one of the benefits of joining just for free even is we have some discussion groups over there. So definitely let us know your favorites of these things. Our hope is that we will end up being able to kind of, get a conversation started and discuss some of these favorites. I will say there's going to be some fun lists coming up.
Yes.
There's going to be a lot of fun lists.
Really good stuff.
And Rob, don't forget, we've got 2 amazing trip reports we're going to be doing soon, too.
Yes.
I've got Alani. You've got an adults-only trip. That'll be fun for us to report on.
So most of August
will be trip reports.
I mean, if you're listening and it's, the beginning of July, from about the second week on, we're going to really focus on trip reports, some cool things that we saw, some things that we did that are maybe different we haven't experienced before. Yeah. So
we're going to try to do a couple batch recordings too coming up. So if you notice, like, wait, they're not talking about news a lot in the pre-show, it's going to be because
there's 2.5, almost 3 weeks.
3 weeks, or we're not going to be able to record.
You're going on your vacation. You're going to Alani, and then the day you get back, I think I figured this out with your wife Julie.
Yeah,
I think the day you get back is like the day we leave or the day after.
Right. So for us, like we don't feel right just not giving you content, especially for our patrons, right? So we're going to try to pre-record a bunch of stuff so that way we can give you that entertainment.
Sure.
But thank you guys so much for listening. We really appreciate it. But it's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. Tomorrow's just a list away.
Tune in next time, and we'll see you real soon.